Welcome to Stetson Law Live, an online, interactive, informational event for prospective students of Stetson University College of Law. Using Ustream's chat feature, your questions can be answered in real time. And now your host, Assistant Dean of Admissions and Student Financial Planning, Laura Zuppo.
Good evening. Welcome to Stetson Law's Demystifying the Waitlist. I'm Laura Zuppo, Assistant Dean of Admissions and Student Financial Planning. Can anyone do me a favor and type that you can hear me okay? I'm going to look at some responses over here. So go ahead and do some type in there, guys, and let me know if you're out there and everything is okay. So, and I'm going to ask my tech guys, if you see any responses, I'm not seeing them up here, let me know. I got one. All right, AJ Pepper, loud and clear, thank you. Okay, here's the plan for tonight, friends. This is the opportunity for you to ask all the questions about the waitlist you ever wanted to know. I'm going to read your questions. I'm going to give you honest answers. I'm going to offer advice and tips. We'll probably run 45 minutes depending on how long you type. The more you type, the more I'll answer. And the questions don't have to just be about the waitlist. If you want to know about Stetson, if you want to know about the competition teams, you want to know about our programs, you can ask those too. First thing I want to do is just tell you a little bit about the way we run our waitlist here at Stetson. It's a little bit different than some other schools. The waitlist process is a different process because we don't rank it. And the reason we don't rank our waitlist is because we feel that once you've made it to the waitlist, that's an opportunity for us to fully screen or reread your file from A to Z. Okay, so this is where you come in handy. If you're really interested, there's so much you can do to demonstrate interest. There's so much you can do to improve your file. And the more you reach out to your schools, the more we can do to offer you some feedback. So I'd like for you guys to see if anyone's willing to be the first person to type a question and be brave about it, and we'll start off the program, okay? So what do we have here? Let's see. All right, nobody yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started with a pre-prepared question. I put one of my favorite all-time questions. When will I hear if I got a seat from the wait list? And that is probably the hardest question to answer, but it's the most frequent that I have received in my 12 years here in admissions at Stetson. You could hear as early as April. Okay, my first group of seat deposits are due about April 15th, 20th. We start staggering them thereafter. So if you get a seat early on, fantastic. Lots of great opportunities to really engage in our community. But for those of you who don't get a seat early on, you might not hear till even July. I had some folks hanging in there on the wait list last year until the end of July, early August, okay? So it runs the gamut. If you do elect to take a seat from another school and you want to remove yourself from our wait list, we do ask that you let us know. So I have a question here about how many people are on the wait list. Right now, I don't have exact number because it does change, but approximately 150 are on the wait list. That number is dynamic because some people are going to say they want to be on the wait list and then drop off. Sometimes we will reduce the size of the wait list, in other words, deny candidates, which isn't very fun, okay? So we do keep approximately 150 to 200 maybe by the end of the year would be on it. And Lynn asks, how many from the wait list on average get accepted? Another good question. I don't have that data for you, but I will tell you that I work a very active wait list. And in fact, I send something out called the Waitlist Survival Guide. And the Waitlist Survival Guide I send out a couple different times during the cycle to make sure everyone gets it. And that really tells you what you can do to strengthen your chances. And what I will say is that every year, a good solid percent of my entering class has been at one point on the wait list. And I say a good solid percent. I don't mean like 50. I'm probably talking like 10% of the class. And let's just say this. The waitlisted candidates tend to be some of the most memorable folks that I have ever worked with in my time. And they tend to become sort of the friends of our office. All right. Mr. Pepper, AJ Pepper says, what can we do to improve our file? I have my cheat sheet here. All right. Oh, and another one says, what can we do to strengthen? Perfect. You guys are thinking alike. Okay. I have one to 3 tips, big tips. Number 1, if you get an honor or an award, a promotion, some kind of accomplishment between the time that we evaluated you and the time that we're looking at waitlist, which again is around the April mark, we need you to tell us, okay? Please email me. And you're going to have our office information at the end with our contact info. If you want, you can email me directly. It doesn't matter. But you need to contact us and tell us of that accomplishment. The best way to do that is sort of just a nice email, nicely written. You can attach an additional resume. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is for those folks who have not yet graduated. If you are a May or even July graduate, then I want to see updated transcripts sent from your institution to the Law School Admission Council, okay? Then email me when you know they're there so that I see an updated GPA. So an improved grade point average in your final semester of college tells us that you weren't fooling around, that you're a very serious student, and you didn't slack off or anything in your last semester. The final big thing that you have control of is the Lsat. Many candidates on the wait list are just not historically strong testers. I'm not a historically strong standardized tester, and I did great throughout college and graduate school. And that's the case for a lot of students. So if you are the kind of applicant who said, I think I got waitlisted because of my Lsat score, I'm going to encourage you to take it again. And if you took it in February, I believe that scores came out today. You're probably going to get an email. But if you didn't retake it in February, think about taking it again in June. And I know it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of work. It's probably one of the most irritating things to have to do, but it can really benefit you in the end. It could give you more options in terms of schools, not just Stetson, but some other schools. And you never know, if you did really well the second time, you might even be able to get some scholarship dollars. So again, it might be worth it. If you do retest, you have to let the schools know, let me know if it's Stetson, that you took it again, and that you would like to be reconsidered with your new score. That would go the same thing with the accomplishments or the transcripts. And then I have one little other tip. A letter of recommendation is a good thing. If you have an additional letter of recommendation, that would be the next thing, and I guess number 4, that I would say you could send in or get to us to ask us to reconsider our original decision. So for those folks who asked that question, I hope that answers it. What else do you guys want to ask me about? Ooh, nice essay. Okay. Jim, you asked a nice question about an essay, and that writing an essay about your interest in another program was able to benefit you by helping you get off of their wait list. That's a good point. Here's my take on that. An essay is fantastic. An essay is your opportunity to really not only express to the school your strong commitment to them, showing that you did research on the program, that you really and truly know it's a program where you would like to go, but it's a good opportunity for you to sell those things about you or market yourself in a way that maybe you didn't do originally. The essay is a good place to tell us about new and exciting things. Maybe you've picked up a new hobby. Again, the honors and awards kind of thing. The essay is finally a place where you can show your writing skills. Because remember, our personal statement guidelines are pretty short. Typically, schools say like 2 to 3 pages, double spaced. So if you send us another essay or statement, we can measure your writing. And so I think that's a great idea, and I would definitely encourage you to do it. Another thing people have done over the years is send me an abstract from a senior thesis. I have received copies of licenses. I had someone receive a Series 7 license, and they sent me that. One year, someone sent me a copy of their CPA passing report. That was helpful. Okay? Good. All right. You're welcome. I see that you said thanks. Thanks, Jim. All right. What not to do? Since we're on the topic of what to do, I like to also say what not to do. Please don't panic, okay? If you got on a school's wait list, you are clearly admissible to law school. It might take a little bit of work. I get students who really and truly panic that because they didn't get an acceptance right away, they don't think they're going to have a seat, and they give up hope. So I think that you really need to just work a little extra and communicate with the school. Tell me you have an interest in Stetson's. Shoot me an email. Keep up with me. All right. I have a question here about should one submit a diversity statement, and would that help? A diversity statement can definitely help. I think a diversity statement has to be partly a statement about why you're interested in that particular law school. If you're going to write me a generic diversity statement and you're on my wait list, I need it to tie back into why Stetson should bring you off of the wait list and bring you into the student body. Okay? Does your diversity further contribute to the law school experience or to Stetson's environment or culture? Okay? A diversity statement that doesn't really talk about the law school is probably not going to be as significant, but it would be helpful. All right, summer entry. There are some schools that offer a summer entry program or an earlier admission. I believe Texas Tech, as you mentioned, Jim has that. There's a program in South Florida through Nova. It's their Ample program. There are a few other schools. I think Ole Miss used to let you start early and take a few classes. Some of the summer entry programs are conditional admission programs, and if you perform well in the summer, they'll give you a guaranteed seat for the fall. Other schools just allow you, as an admitted student, to take courses ahead of time to get a head start. The answer then about Stetson is we offer neither program. If you're accepted, you start in the fall only, okay? All right. I have a few other things that I've prepared because I like to keep things going. All right, so I mentioned the wait list. I mentioned we don't rank. I mentioned that you could hear any time. And finally, I wanted to talk about, I heard you already made some decisions. Is that true? No. Apparently in the blogosphere out there, it says that Stetson has already called some folks off of the wait list. I don't believe that's true. I think that's old information. But as I mentioned earlier, we will begin looking at the wait list around mid-April, okay? So for those of you who are very committed to Stetson, really think about some of those tips that I offered earlier on. All right. So besides the wait list, what other kinds of questions do you guys have? I'm not seeing too much chatter out here. I'd love to have some more questions from everybody. What do we have? Okay, I've got more for you if you guys don't have it for me. Okay, so Stetson offers full-time and part-time. Is anybody thinking about, well, I didn't get into one program. Does Stetson allow me to apply to the other? For example, if I applied to the full-time program and didn't get in right away, could I be considered for part-time or vice versa, right? Yes, you can be considered for the other program. It's not done automatically. I really need candidates who are thinking about being considered for the other program to reach out to me and explain why. I also would still need something different in your file from what you originally sent me. Okay, so if you are thinking about looking at the other program, please let us know as soon as possible, because I can honestly and very comfortably say we are typically admitting people from the part-time wait list later in the cycle than we do the full-time wait list. But every year is different. A couple of years ago, the reverse was true. We were full and part-time and had seats open and full. But typically, it's part-time seats are open later in the cycle. Okay. All right. I am curious, or is this, okay, who said this? Jim, you said something about the weather. How's the weather? Right now it's perfectly sunny, rather brisk and chilly. I would say it's in the high 60s. The other day it was ridiculously cold, and we even had a little rain, but this time of the year is really nice. I'm wearing a sweater, but I think every male that I've seen today has been in a short sleeve polo shirt and jeans or something, so I tend to be cold, but it's gorgeous. All right, so the question from LT Lacoste. Are sections stacked? I don't know what you mean by the term stack, so I'm going to ask you to clarify that. I need you to give me a little more, because we do assign sections, and for full-time students there are 3 sections, and then your research and writing are usually half of your full section. So if you could do me a favor and further define what you mean by stacked, I would appreciate it. While you're doing that, I'm going to answer the scholarship question. Okay. How much in scholarships would be available if someone retests in June and is then admitted from the wait list? I get a little bit worried about that, because I don't ever want to make a promise I can't keep. Having said that, there are typically some funds available. Usually it's because we know we'll have some really high-level June testers. Also, we know that some people who've accepted our scholarship offer earlier in the cycle may turn us down at the last minute, and we might have some freed up money. So there would be some money available. I can't tell you how much. I will be very honest and tell you that historically, candidates who've been admitted from the wait list haven't really been offered scholarships. If they have been offered scholarships, because it's later in the cycle, they've been small. They haven't been very large. I mean, if you took the test again in June, though, and got a 165 and have like a 3.8, there'd probably be some funds, but I can't make any promises, okay? In a case like that, I'd probably talk with you about deferring to the following year, where you'd have a better chance of getting a more substantial scholarship, not just from Stetson, but from another school. So we would want to have a personal conversation if you took it again in June and you just killed it, okay? So that's important. I'm still not seeing the answer about stacked questions or the clarification, so I'm going to kind of stay away from that until you clarify for me, Lacoste, so hold off. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions for me? It's going to be a really quick webinar if we don't. No? All right. Let me see if I have anything else for you guys. All right. I actually get a question a lot of times about federal financial aid. Part of that panic that I was telling students about, they have a fear of not getting a seat. A lot of times students panic that if they're sitting on a school's wait list, they're not going to have access to federal student loans, or that they're going to miss a deadline. Here's what you need to do. When you're filling out the FAFSA, you have the option of listing up to 6 schools' codes. Our financial aid code is E00342. Later on, if you need me to send that to you, I can. You can list our code. And the FAFSA comes to us electronically. So even if you got admitted 3 weeks or 2 weeks before school started, there would still be plenty of time to process an award for you, send you an award packet, have you do all the things you need to do, and get aid. Okay, so I want to make it very clear for students who are on the wait list or who get accepted to schools at the last minute, federal financial aid should not be something you fear about, unless you have a credit problem and you can't get the Graduate Plus loan. Then that would be a challenge. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you for clarifying that. I've heard of schools taking the top students in each section after the first year and then putting them all in the same section, resulting in a loss of scholarship. Absolutely not. We do not do that. That is completely, well, that's just dirty dealing, in my opinion. I hope no one's like reposting anything I say out there on the internet, but I think that's dirty dealing, and I can't imagine that a school would do that. We don't do that. You're assigned a section as a 1L student. You're in that section for your first year. After that, you move into the elective curriculum. You, at that point, have the flexibility of taking courses that are of interest to you and that you may need or want to fulfill concentration or something like that. You might be number 1 in a class and be tied for number 1 with a classmate. I mean, that happens. But we by no means take the top people and then put them all together. In fact, when we assign sections, it's extremely random. I don't think they do it exactly like this, but it's pretty much like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the part-timers, they are all in the same section. Okay, so it's pretty random. The only thing that we might do to manipulate the section would be, say, if a family member somehow ends up in a professor's class, or if somehow the result of the sections meant that all of the scholarship students ended up in one section, which would be crazy. It doesn't work like that. So I hope that helps answer your question. Okay, so Jim, you asked about if I had to give the top 3 advantages of Stetson, what would they be? Besides the fact that your assistant dean of admissions and student financial planning is absolutely wonderful and that you'll have a fabulous relationship with me for the next 3 or 4 years, I would say advantage 1 is, let's say, the faculty. I always have to start with our faculty because you don't go to law schools, you don't select them because of the people like me, right? You go to a law school because of the connections you're going to make that the faculty already have, and the mentoring opportunities with them, and the opportunity really to meet with alumni and gain experiences. So let's start with faculty. I was in a meeting today. This was actually really kind of fun, and we were in the strategic planning meeting, and one of the professors was really excited and was sort of bragging about one of the things he most values is our open door policy. And the professors are shaking their heads, and I'm the only administrator in the group. And I'm going, hey guys, it's not a formal policy. And they looked at me, they're like, what do you mean? I said, it's cultural. It's expected. It's what you do. It's the norm. You have not actually voted on a formal written policy, but it's sort of become the mantra amongst the faculty. So when I tell you that our faculty are available and accessible, I truly mean that. I see them hanging out with students at lunch. Sometimes they'll have social occasions and students might be invited. They travel on competition teams with them, and they're very, very dedicated. That's number 1. Number 2 is our campus facility. This is an old resort hotel from the 1920s. If you haven't been here, it's amazing. It's the Spanish Mediterranean architecture, and it's in the middle of a residential neighborhood, about 8-10 minute drive from St. Pete Beach, very, very close to downtown St. Petersburg, 35-minute drive from Tampa. So you're nestled in a suburb, but you're near a lot of wonderful amenities. And the campus is 2.5 hours from our undergraduate institution, Stetson University in DeLand. So it's a whole law school campus just for law students. There are no undergrads, PhDs. It is just for law students. So you have an entire campus just for you. And I think because of that, you tend to have a lot of staff that are extremely knowledgeable, very helpful, and very friendly. And I guess just culturally, we're very friendly people. And then the final thing, and this is another exciting thing, is we are situated in Tampa Bay, Florida. It is one of the top 25 largest cities in the country, metropolitan areas in the country, excuse me. And up until pretty much recently, we've been the only law school in the area. Tampa Bay supports federal courts, state courts, county courts, local courts, and all the agencies and firms that support those courts. So it affords our students the opportunity to do internships and clinics in the fall, spring, and summer semesters. We have 36 different formal programs that support up to 450 students a year. I love to brag about that. I actually know for a fact because the Associate Dean of Academics runs this particular internship. She didn't even have enough, she didn't even fill all of the open seats in the homeless advocacy internship this past year. Okay, so a lot of opportunities for clinics and internships. Okay, cost of living as far as housing, gas price, etc. Lynn, that's a great question, and one thing I will tell you guys is we actually do your financial aid award based on double occupancy. We assume that you can find a roommate or find a single one-bedroom apartment for approximately $500 plus utilities plus all the other things. Many of our students get a roommate and have a rent of even under $1,000, so that $500 is pretty affordable. Remember, you guys, you're living like law students, not lawyers. So while some of the cool downtown St. Petersburg apartment complexes are just really fun and they're sophisticated and very, very hip, what have you, they're pricey. So you have to really think about the pros and cons and how you spend what is most often loan money. So the bottom line is it's affordable, especially if you're living with a roommate. Okay, this question is, how long before the semester starts do we stop accepting students or waitlisters? Throughout the summer, I will have to make some tough decisions with my faculty committee. We don't want to keep on the wait list such a large number of students that we are never going to have a realistic chance of accepting you. So what we do is two things. And I know this is a long answer, and I'm so sorry, but it's important to tell you how we do it. We're going to ask you to continue to update us of your interests so that you self-select off of the wait list if you go elsewhere, giving people who are on the wait list a better chance of gaining a seat, right? Number two, we're going to go through the wait list periodically and make denial decisions. So you may hear early, you may hear late. The longer you go without hearing from us, the better your chances for getting a seat. Typically, it's about 2 weeks ahead of orientation, but I've had some students candidates tell me, I don't want you to let me go of the wait list. If you're willing to keep me, I'm willing to stay on. I can start as late as the first day of class. I live locally, or I'm from Orlando or from Tallahassee, but my uncle has a condo or a house there and I have housing. So if you're one of those students where you can start at the last minute, letting us know that as we get closer to the start of the semester could result in a positive outcome. The other thing that I've done for some students who've been able to hang in there is I've had the ability to work with them and help them get a seat for the next year. And that has actually worked out really well for some students. Okay. I'm going to take the question about contacting me before I take the question about improving chances, okay? I will probably contact you if you get a seat, or Darren Kettles, our associate director. One of us will reach out to you and offer you the seat. We typically do it by phone. If we cannot get you on the phone, we're going to email you. So if you do change your phone number, please let us know. We typically call your cell. Okay, that's our first stop, because if you're admitted at the last minute, we're going to call you and I'm going to go through sort of a litany of things that I need you to accomplish so that I know you are up to speed with all my other entrants. Okay, the next question is, what can we do to improve our chances, especially if we've had the tour, we sat in on a class, or you've met with Mr. Kettles? This goes back to some of the things that we were talking about in the beginning, and I know some of you joined in later, so I am going to reiterate those. This is where you send in updated grades to LSAC. You could retake the test. You can get additional letters of recommendation, and you can give us an updated resume or statement telling us about any additional accomplishments or achievements. So I kind of went through those 4 items earlier, but they are really the most substantive things that you can do to improve your chances. We talked earlier as well about writing a statement of interest or even a diversity statement. If you have a senior thesis, sending in an abstract. Maybe you had a paper of publishable quality but didn't necessarily have an abstract with it. Perhaps you could give us a couple of paragraphs about that paper. I've had students over the years who've sent me, 50-page theses, and I don't want to read that. I promise you I won't read 50 pages, so don't send me a paper like that. An abstract is beautiful. That's all I need, okay? And then finally, what you've done, CB, is you have done what we call show us demonstrated interest. Okay, guys? When you visit a school, when you reach out to a school, when you participate in webinars and we can track who you are, we as the law school admissions people out there in the world, we're tracking this stuff in our databases. And so when I see that you visited, you sat in on a class, you came to another event, you followed up with a letter, I see a history of demonstrated interest in Stetson. To me, you are more likely to accept my offer and therefore would be someone I'm more inclined to admit, because a school doesn't want to extend a waitlist offer to people who aren't going to say yes. Okay, it's just a little trick. Okay. Your question is send those in addition to what we already did or to replace. I would say send it in as an in addition item. And then if you get accepted, when we send your materials over to the registrar, we would replace older documents with newer documents like a resume. Okay, I hope that answers that. Can you just type an okay if that was the question, if I answered that right for me, for you? I hope I did. Okay, guys, what other questions do we have? We've been talking for about 33 minutes or so. I'd love to answer questions even more generically about law school. Have any questions about certificates of concentration, the curriculum, the culture, student life, bar passage? Give me anything you have an interest in. I'm delighted to answer the questions. All right, and let me see if I have anything else for you in my prepared remarks. Oh, I have a funny one for you. Last year, I tried to get in touch with a student to admit them, and they were actually out of the country and didn't tell us. Apparently, they had a really exciting vacation and forgot to tell us, and so we called them. We emailed them, and we sent them something via U.S. mail trying to get them to know they had a seat. And because they didn't do anything to get that information, like check email, they missed out on an opportunity to gain a seat. So please tell us if you change your email address, you move your phone number. If you're going to be out of the country, make sure you're checking your email. All right. Oh, good. Thanks for clarifying that I answered your question. Okay, so the question is now about trial advocacy. Jim, I don't know how aware you are of this, and not everybody is aware of this, but Stetson is one of the top schools in the nation for advocacy training, skills training. Advocacy is really the umbrella term for trial work or trial advocacy. Moot court is more commonly the term, but it's appellate. And then you have alternative dispute resolution, which is mediation, arbitration, negotiation. One of the things that I absolutely love about Stetson is the skills training. In fact, for our trial advocacy course, we limit it to 8 students. 8. And you have a professor. We have tons of sections of trial advocacy because we do limit it to 8. We have pretrial practice, we have client counseling, we have negotiation classes, we have all kinds of things. If you look at our view book or our website, you can see the whole listing of our skills-based courses. It's very important. Please check that out. Additionally, with respect to advocacy, you have opportunities to be on a competition team. You also have opportunities to participate in a clinic or internship that's centered around developing skills that an advocate needs, writing, oral arguments, etc. And then finally, you have the opportunity to be part of competitions here that we host on campus. So advocacy is a big deal at Stetson. We take it pretty seriously. Well over 100 students in any given year are on a team. They travel all over the country and world. As early as your 1L year, you have the opportunity to participate in an actual competition. It's the Phelps Dunbar opening statement competition. All right, so trial advocacy is a big deal here. And do me a favor, Jim, and look up Professor Charles Rose on our website, Professor Lee Kopic. And they're the 2 main leaders on the trial side of things. I can give you name after name of faculty who are leaders in moot court, but those are my 2 main guys when it comes to trial advocacy. All right, next question is about job prospects. Job prospects outside of Tampa Bay. If you are from out of state, I want you to go back home to your home state after graduation. No, I'm just kidding. What we find is that so many people come to Stetson and fall in love with the Tampa Bay area. We're like, please go back out to South Florida or Jacksonville. Get out of here. But it's such an amazing part of the country. The Gulf Coast is so beautiful. The Tampa Bay area is vibrant. It's a great place to be. So what we find that is because we have a good alumni base here, our graduates tend to make a lot of connections here and stay. We do, however, have people go out of state. I am quoting from my memory, so please no one pin me to this, but approximately 89 to 91% of folks who graduate stay in the state of Florida. Of that, probably about 50 to 60-ish will stay within like a 2.5 hour drive of Stetson. For the 9 to 11% who go out of state, we typically see like Georgia, Virginia, DC, New York, sometimes California. People might go out west, Texas or something, but our biggest one's going to be the Georgia one, because Georgia has reciprocity, I believe, with 24 other states. Their bar does. Florida doesn't have reciprocity with any other state, so a lot of our grads end up taking the Florida bar, and then they don't want to have to take another bar, so they stay here too. So, but anyway, job prospects out of Tampa Bay. It's if that's something you want, not just out of Tampa Bay, but out of state, you're going to definitely have opportunities. You're going to want to work with our career development team. I bring students to different events. The career development folks do. We have job postings from people who are outside of the area. We are developing alumni chapters in different parts of the state. So a lot of opportunities for you to network with alumni and hiring partners from other places throughout the state, as well as, in particular, DC and Atlanta. Okay, what is our criminal law like, particularly for those who plan to eventually work the state attorneys? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that we offer both the public defender clinic, the prosecutor's clinic, the federal judicial internship, the federal prosecution clinic. The list goes on and on and on. So if you are interested in some kind of clinic or internship where you will have exposure to public defense or prosecution, there are plenty of opportunities for you. So criminal law, we have a couple of different types of faculty. We have faculty who focus more on the traditional criminal side of things, like the murder, the really mean, nasty stuff. And then we have faculty who kind of focus on the white collar side of things. Professor Roselle, for example, focuses on the more traditional criminal law. Professor Podgore is a white collar crime expert. So if you're thinking more along the lines of Enron prosecution, you would work with Podgore. If you're thinking more along the lines of putting people who commit sexual assaults away, you're going to work more with like a Roselle or even a Flowers, okay? So lots of faculty expertise in that area. In fact, virtually all of our professors practiced before they came. That's a big part of what we look for when we hire, is that they have practical experience, having worked in firms and government agencies, but that they also do academic scholarship. We don't just attract legal scholars, we want people who've been extensive practitioners too. Let's see, I hope that answers it. So Callaway, if that doesn't, or you want me to tell you more, let me know. All right, so AJ, can I go into some detail about our sexual orientation and gender identity classes? I can actually. I've been very proud to be sort of an unofficial advisor, I guess, for our Lambda organization here on campus, and we've been pretty active in terms of our chapter here. We actually participate in the Pride Parade. We do a lot of different things, and there's some amazing panel discussions and movie viewing, followed by discussion and evaluation of movies. The group participates in our community activities in terms of pro bono work. But to talk specifically about your question, we have 2 or 3 professors who have or are qualified to teach this course and have done the prep for it. They are the advisors to Lambda Law, and they are on our webpage. It's Professors Morrissey, Podgore, and Palmer. And it is a course that's really widely taken here at Stetson. What I can say is it's offered approximately once a year, and that the course is really going to talk a lot about hot topics. And I also know that the faculty members have been talking about trying to get Stetson to bring a team to the national GLBT or Lavender Law competition, actually, that's out there. So I'm hopeful that that happens in the next year or so. I probably can't go into too much detail about the actual contents of the class, but if you will do me a favor and either email me or email Darren, I'm going to ask one of the faculty members to send you a copy of their most recent syllabus, and I'm sure they'll be happy to talk with you about it. All right? Jim, you asked about the Socratic Method. Yeah, the Socratic Method is, it's still used by schools, everybody, but the one thing I'm going to tell you is that the legal education is changing. I'm hearing this not just from the students at Stetson, but from my peers at other law schools. I think it's sort of like this. Gone are the days where a faculty member is going to ask you to stand for the full 50 minutes or hour and 20 minutes of class and grill you or make you run out crying or scare you to death. Many faculty don't even ask you to stand today. Several faculty do a combination of traditional Socratic exam or Socratic method as well as seminar or lecture courses. So I think that you're going to find law schools a lot less intimidating today. Another thing that we're learning is that more and more faculty are offering an ungraded or even a graded, but typically with low weight, midterm. Or they're asking you to do quizzes. And the reason they're doing that today is to help you understand how to prepare for and write a law school exam. Too many students come in never having written an exam that takes 3.5 or 4 hours, and they're paranoid. They don't know what to do. So faculty really work to help them develop that skill. So the next question is about intellectual property. We have a few faculty here who really focus on intellectual property. Ann Mason is a local practitioner as well as adjunct, Professor Wilson, several other names. I just can't think of them off of the top of my head, but if you go onto our faculty bio pages, you can check these folks out. Mason's father actually started one of the first intellectual property firm here in the Tampa Bay area, and so she grew up with an interest in IP law, followed in Dad's footsteps, and has been an amazing contributor to the Stetson community ever since. IP is a growing area of the law. It's one of those areas, especially if you have an engineering, biology, chemistry, or math background, that you really, really should check out. And for those of you who do take the patent bar in particular, you are in fabulous shape for jobs. I don't care what law school you go to. If you can pass the patent bar, you're in great shape professionally, because it's hard, but it's really a necessary thing to do. We have a program with University of New Hampshire School of Law. It used to be called Franklin Pierce Law Center, and they became University of New Hampshire. You can actually go up to New Hampshire's program and study their first semester. In exchange, one of their students could come and study advocacy with us. New Hampshire is considered a really good program for IP. I mean, it's cold, so I know you don't want to go up there, but they do have a good program. And then we actually have an internship program with the University of South Florida Patents and Licensing Office. So if you're more into patents and license, that would be a good program for you. All right. Nationally ranked legal writing program is the question. Can I describe that program? That is one that I think is really kind of interesting. And the reason why I say that is because if you think about the two main things a lawyer actually does, they are advocating for a client, and they write. They write briefs, they write memos, they write interrogatories, they do a lot of writing. So Stetson is top ranked in two of those things, advocacy and legal writing. So I think it's really kind of cool that when we talk about the fact that we're a strong skills program, we have top rankings in both of the most important skills. Having said that, when you're in research and writing courses, they're basically half the size of your regular section. And for those of you who have a particular interest in like environmental law, for example, we actually offer in Research and Writing 2 the opportunity to take R&W for environmental law, future environmental law concentrators. So we have developed subject matter specific research and writing courses. We have a very strong R&W curriculum in general in terms of R&W 1 and 2. We offer upper level writing intensive courses. We also require you to do some kind of written piece before you graduate. It has to be some kind of paper of publishable quality, and then or seminar paper. And then we also offer several different upper level electives that really emphasize legal research and writing. Additionally, our former dean, Darby Dickerson, she's now at Texas Tech, I think somebody was mentioning that earlier, she was actually considered a national and pretty much international expert on legal citation. And she created this manual, the Allwood Citation Manual. And it's used in addition to the Blue Book. And it's really neat because she adopted that to help students more easily learn how to do legal citation. And so our students often learn both the Blue Book and Allwood. I don't know if they learn both equally. I still think we rely on Allwood, but I know they're exposed to Blue Book while they're here. So I hope that answers that as well. Okay. Scholarship. If admitted, will you get a scholarship? I was sharing with some folks a little bit earlier on that typically folks admitted from the waitlist are not offered a scholarship, and if they are, it's not a very, very large scholarship unless perhaps they have a huge increase in GPA or they take the June Lsat and do really, really well. If you are accepted from the waitlist, you may or may not be offered a scholarship at the time of acceptance. More likely than not, a scholarship would follow acceptance later in the cycle. And Lynn asks about study abroad programs. Study abroad programs are kind of neat. I mean, I think that if you've never studied abroad, it's a really good opportunity. You just have to make sure that the abroad program you choose fits in with your professional goals, because you don't want the study abroad to just be a really expensive vacation. You want to make sure it fits in with what you want to do professionally. So when you're looking at a study abroad program offered, say, by Stetson, you want to look at the curriculum and not just pick a program based on the country because you think going to China or going to Argentina or Spain or France or London or the Netherlands or where else do we have? Cayman Islands, etc. You don't want to pick it because you think going to one of those countries would be fun or cool or neat. Okay, so if you're interested in international banking or international transaction work, you would probably like to go to the Cayman Islands program at Stetson, okay, because that's really the focus of the curriculum. I think that the London program really looks at international comparative law. You have the opportunity to do an internship while you're there. Similarly, if you are fluent in Spanish, speaking it, reading it, writing it, you might want to consider working in international law and maybe becoming licensed to practice law in the EU. We offer a program with the University of Granada in Spain where you could do a year here, 2 years there in Spain, your 4th year here, and then you'd be able to earn the JD as well as the Grado in Derecho, take the bar here, take the bar equivalent in Spain, and have dual licenses. That would probably be for the most dedicated scholar amongst everyone out there, because that's pretty intense, but it is available. So what I would say is in terms of study abroad programs, we have a lot. And if you go to our international programs webpage, they fully describe them and talk about their curriculum in detail. And that if you want to talk with a faculty member who teaches in those areas, let me know and I'll get you in touch with them. Oh, and another question is about scholarships. Thank you. If you don't get a scholarship at the time of acceptance, do you have the opportunity to apply for one or compete for one at some later point during your enrollment? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I saw the class ranks for the first semester, and there's a young lady in the top 10% of the 1L class who was accepted from the wait list and came in with no scholarship. And it is my hope of hopes that she stays in that top percent, because we do offer scholarships to students who are in the top who did not get a scholarship coming in. Okay, so there are academic scholarships for people who perform in the top. Now we make the promise, Dean's List. If after your first year you earn Dean's List, which is top 5%, we will award you some kind of partial scholarships for the 2nd and 3rd year. However, because I saw so many people in the Dean's List range already had a big scholarship or full, I have a feeling that going to the top 10% would not be a problem. We have done that in the past, sort of spreads the wealth. Additionally, there are application-based scholarships that even 1Ls can apply for. I announce them in the fall and spring of every semester, or somebody on my financial planning team announces them, and you can write an essay, submit a resume, get recommendations, and you can apply for those scholarships too. Those are typically smaller than the merit ones would be. And then the final one we have is actually the Public Service Scholarship, and that's for one student. and that would be a student going into his or her final year of law school who has shown a passion and commitment to public service, and it's actually full tuition. We are actually going to have a group of those sent before the faculty committee next week to pick the final person. So scholarships are available, but getting them as an entering student is most often the way to secure the largest scholarship, frankly. Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything for me? I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh, okay. I'm getting a question off camera. Alicia has a question about classes after the first year. Thank you, Alicia. I'm sorry if I missed it somewhere in there. When you say a question about classes after the first year, I'm assuming you mean elective courses that you would pick. And I'm going to ask you to clarify that. I'm going to answer the question, but if I'm not if I'm not answering it properly, please clarify it for me. All right. Students who enter their elective curriculum still have to fulfill a couple of things. You have to fulfill your skills requirement. You might take that as a clinic or an internship, or you might do a trial advocacy, pretrial practice, negotiation, mediation, etc. You have to fulfill a writing requirement. I briefly mentioned earlier when I talked about our writing program. You could do that via law review, or even a seminar paper or something like that, an independent research. You have to do an administrative law course, but you have your choice. You guys remember how in college you have these gen ed requirements, like a history course, but you have 15 choices and you pick one. It's very similar in upper level required courses. So you have administrative law, skills, you're going to have writing requirement, and I believe there's one more. It might be a code requirement. But really after that, you're taking electives. You're going to have, you have to fit in professional responsibility and evidence in there. It's typically a course that everyone wants to take anyway, evidence, but you're taking electives. You might want to take courses all over the board. You might want to take a course in family law. You might want to take a jurisprudence course. You might want to take a health law, elder law, advocacy, whatever. You might want to tailor your elective curriculum to a particular area. For example, you might want to become an elder law concentration student, or a social justice and advocacy concentration. I may as well tell you the other concentrations while I'm at it. International law, environmental law, elder law, advocacy, and social justice and advocacy. So you might tailor your elective curriculum in those areas. Not everybody chooses a certificate. Some people just do what I said earlier. They take a little bit from different areas. What I find more than anything else is that students figure out what they don't want to do with the practice of law before they ever figure out what they really want to do. And a lot of that comes from doing internships in clinics. And did Alicia do a follow-up question for me, guys? Are we good? Okay. All right. Well, we have just a couple minutes left, and then I'm going to go home and take care of my dogs. And I know the guys back here, Damon and Dan, who are working so hard to make sure the technology stays afloat. I know they probably have kids and stuff to get home to. So if you have some final questions, put them out there for me, okay? Give it another couple seconds and see what you have. All right. Thanks, Alicia. I appreciate you telling me it answered your question. Cool. Anybody else? All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up tonight. I just want to say thank you all so very much for participating in our webinar. It's Demystifying the Waitlist. If you have a question about your particular situation, if you want to talk with me, if you want to email with me, please email me at zuppo@law.stetson.edu. I'm going to have our general campus our office email up in a second. I typically don't set up one-on-one meetings with waitlisted candidates, but I always answer questions via email. If you want to meet with someone on staff, please ask to meet with Darren Kettles, our Associate Director. We do have a Tampa Law Center. Yes, we do have a Tampa campus. Part-time students can take some classes there, full-timers in Gulfport. All right, I'm going to ask the guys to go ahead and post the wrap-up screen, and I just want to say thank you all so much and have a fabulous night. Bye.
Thank you for watching Stetson Law Live. For more information, send us an email or give us a call. For your convenience, our contact information will remain on screen for the next few minutes. Be sure to check our homepage often for news, information, and updates. Thanks again. We look forward to hearing from you soon.